Oh my god. I don't know where to start. What to say, what to write. How do I describe what I think of it now? Sometimes a thought pops into my head when I try to wrap my head around it all. What did I expect? Did I really have any kind of hope this would be simple and clean? A sanctuary from loose ends? That I could face my fears without thinking twice? Well, no, I didn't. I knew this would be a train wreck. I knew it would all be terrible. But even then, I was surprised at how mind-bending it would get. I'm talking about the story and especially the ending to Kingdom Hearts 3. Here I will try to collect my thoughts. Naturally, spoilers for the whole thing will follow. Not that there's much of value to actually spoil. Now let me just say for a moment, I love this game. Its gameplay is polished and refined beautifully. You have a massive number of attacks, spells, equipment options, and the fights are all epic regardless of the horrible mess of a story that's binding it all together. The music is wonderful. The worlds are massive and beautiful. Kindly skip all the cutscenes unless you want to get the biggest migraine of the century, because you're not going to understand it if you haven't played any other Kingdom Hearts games. You're not going to understand it even if you have. You're not going to understand it no matter how much you study the wiki. Something a lot of people are pointing out already is that the game has a serious pacing problem. 98% of the plot development is saved for the final stages of the game, and pretty much every Disney World is pointless filler. Disney's growing irrelevance has been a problem for a long time now, but even Chain of Memories and 358 over 2 days paced the plot development better. I mean, Kingdom Hearts 3 starts with Sora going to Olympus just to ask Hercules how to get all his levels back, because apparently, Yen Sid tossing him straight into Xehanort's trap in Dream Drop Distance sent him back to level 1 and he has to grind all those levels back again. And so we get about 7 Disney Worlds that follow a strict formula. You go to the world, meet your party members, fight some enemies. A bad guy shows up to taunt Sora, a boss shows up, you kill it, and Sora moves on to the next world. There's very, very little purpose to it, and I have a growing suspicion that certain scenes were constructed to hype us up in trailers, yet when you actually see them in game, they amount to nothing. Naturally, fan favorites Marluxia and Larxene are back from the dead, duh, and they're keeping tabs on the new Princesses of Heart, which raises many questions. Unfortunately, the new princesses do nothing in the plot of Kingdom Hearts 3. They're stated to be the new organization's backup plan, whatever that means, but they end up not needing it anyways. Luxord is back, and he and Maleficent are both searching for the Black Box, which is a plot element introduced in the stupid phone game. This never goes anywhere, they never find the box, and they never open it. Just about the only world with an interesting plot thread to it is Monstropolis, because it's the world that sees the return of the Unversed, and with them, Vanitas. Because remember, nobody in Kingdom Hearts stays dead as long as they have fans. And it makes sense for them to be here too, because Monstropolis once used fear as energy, and what are Unversed powered by? Negative emotions. However, this is the only world with Unversed outside of one fight at the end of the game, and Vanitas himself is little more than yet another name on the list of new organization members. A list that includes pretty much every final boss from the series aside from that armored nightmare thing from Dream Drop Distance. Speaking of trailer hype that turns out to go absolutely nowhere, there was a pretty huge buzz on the internet when it was revealed that Aqua had become one of the new organization members. At least, that's what we all assumed, because anyone with gold eyes is apparently an organization member now. Even Nomura was surprised to see this talked about so much, because only he knew at the time how meaningless this would turn out to be. In the game, Aqua has only fallen to darkness, which means all it takes is one beating from Sora to make her all better, I guess. This could have been placed anywhere in the game, but no, Sora has to mess around in random worlds looking for a power that'll probably just pop into existence when it's needed anyhow, like so many other powers in this series have. This is instead how the endgame, and indeed the migraines, begin. So Aqua then takes Sora to Castle Oblivion to wake up Ventus. By the way, Sora never gets his memories of Castle Oblivion back, in case you were wondering. Vanitas shows up and fights Aqua, nearly killing her despite me vaporizing him in the actual gameplay, but Sora finally manages to wake up Ventus and put his heart back. Meanwhile, Vexen rejoins Organization 13 in order to continue his cloning research. In fact, that's the excuse for the involvement of Ansem, Xemnas, Xehanort, Young Xehanort, Terra Xehanort, Riku Xehanort, and Xehanort's leftmost toenail. They're all clones. Of course, whatever. And that cloning research is how Sora wants to give Roxas, Naminé, and eventually Xion their own bodies. Lucky for them, Vexen and Demyx are totally willing to double-cross the organization and atone for past transgressions, even though they're both back to being nobodies, and I always thought no heart meant no guilt. In fact, why the heck do Marluxia and Larxene join them again? Or any of the nobodies, in fact? Shouldn't they be well aware of what Xehanort's goals are by now? I don't know. By the way, Axel and Kairi have Keyblades, as I mentioned. These two accomplish so little that it may as well be a case study of how pandering to fans of certain characters can end up paying off horribly. Kairi's barely even relevant anymore. She's a party member for one upcoming fight, and gets kidnapped midway through anyways. Sora and his 7 Keyblade wielders head off to the Keyblade graveyard. Terra Xehanort's there, and he basically stabs like 3 people. This is apparently enough to depress Sora. Then a giant Heartless wave comes and kills everyone. No, really, they all die. We cut to Sora in the final world. That's what the game calls it. A sequence follows in which Sora restores everyone to life with the assistance of Chirithy from the stupid phone games. And if you search the area, you can meet an unnamed heart implied to be Strelitzia, Marluxia's little sister. Then again, if it was Strelitzia, Sora certainly never mentions her again. Then we cut back to the Keyblade graveyard, and the same sequence of events happens again, except this time, the Lingering Will shows up and saves everyone's hides. So what the heck was the point of the final world? It's barely even acknowledged after the fact, and it's too over the top even for Kingdom Hearts. You gain no items or anything here, so it's a complete waste of time, and nobody explains what's even going on. It's like time compression in Final Fantasy VIII or something. Well, apparently you can find Naminé in the final world. I'll just not talk about it. And she says she'll get Terra's armor to help out Sora, but the scene of this is optional, so if you haven't been to the orchestral concert where this scene is also shown off, you'd be left completely in the dark. Oh, and Terra's armor never appears past this point. Its appearance in one scene is completely useless to the overall story. It is not a party member. It does not take its heart or body back from Xehanort. Instead, it turns out that Terranort's stand was Terra's Heartless all along, and it rebels and takes back its body. Way to take a fan theory and make it canon because you couldn't come up with anything better. It gets worse. Xehanort's next move is to summon the most massive Heartless tornado ever witnessed. To deal with this, Sora gets a helping hand from Ephemer. He is a character, again, from the stupid phone games, and is in what is actually one of the most epic set pieces in the whole series. Every Keyblade in the graveyard that belonged to a player character from the stupid phone game suddenly comes to life and starts blasting away at the Heartless, going so far as to display the names of the Keyblade's owners, i.e. the usernames of the top 500 players of the phone game. It's amazing. It's great. It's one of the best moments in the entire game, and it really has a meaningful impact if you know anything about the phone game at all, or even played it to completion. But there are 2 problems. One, we're not even close to the grand finale where this should have been placed, so they never mention or acknowledge it ever again. Second, how is Ephemer even here? I thought he was leading a union in the dream world. Isn't he? This is also his only appearance, and he has like 1 total line, so they had to hire his voice actor for the 1 line that he says. Thanks for the cameo, I guess? And you know, at this point, I want to point out that I don't have a problem with the phone game or anybody who plays it, but when you are stacking references upon references to it in the end game that nobody understands unless they actually play it, I'm not a mobile gamer. I didn't even touch Union Cross at all. And there are so many shoutouts to it in this game or unresolved plot threads that are implied to have something to do with Union Cross, it just feels like this big attempt to get people to play Union Cross so that they can see what the answers to their questions are in the coming plot updates for Union Cross. And I want you to remember that mobile phone games really love their microtransactions. I don't want to imply anything, but, you know. So in another scene, Axel and Sykes talk about how they wanted to rescue a girl from being experimented on by Xehanort. In the secret reports you can find, the girl is more or less confirmed to be Skuld, another of the Union leaders, which means they must have gotten out of the Dream Realm along with Ventus, Ephemer, and Marluxia. Of course, none of them divulged any information about it, even as Marluxia and Larxene kick the bucket again, even as the Chirithy we met turns out to be Ventus's. We never get confirmation on Marluxia's motives for rebelling in Castle Oblivion, whether or not it had any relation to his sister who was murdered in the phone game, presumably by Brain, who is the only Union leader unaccounted for in Kingdom Hearts 3. Demyx and Luxord are also all apparently connected to the Keyblade War, but we're never told how or why. It's meaningless to Kingdom Hearts 3, but why explain it now when the stupid phone game is still in the process of getting its own story updates every month or so? Also, one of the new organization members is Xion herself. Yeah. How did she get a body? Why is she working for Xemnas again? Well, she quickly switches sides when Roxas joins the fray. We then find out that every member struck down creates a Keyblade, which Xehanort will merge with his own to forge the Keyblade. Spelled with an X, Greek letter, don't you know? How? I don't know. I don't know how killing an organization member produces another key. I don't know how he has enough for this, even though Xion didn't die again. And why are all the bad guys repenting when they die? Why are we forgiving them all for their long, long list of crimes? Xehanort then outright murders Kairi. Did us all a favor, in my opinion. Sora drags him into another world completely, which turns out to be Xehanort's hometown, implied to be built on the ruins of Daybreak Town from the stupid phone game. Seriously, even though the place looks cool, Scala ad Caelum, I don't know, has never been mentioned before and is never elaborated on further either. Sora fights Xehanort again and again until the old coot finally dies for good. Terra gets freed, Ericus reappears for a quick cameo, and everyone goes home except for Sora, who has to go find Kairi even though she's dead, and their relationship was never going to go anywhere anyways. At the very end, we see Sora vanish mysteriously from the island. Then the secret ending shows him, Riku, and characters previously thought to be in-universe fictional characters in the setting of The World Ends With You, a completely different universe. Then we get another secret ending that reveals that Xigbar, who doesn't seem to die no matter how many times you kill him, was an apprentice of the Master of Masters, and was working with Xehanort to get his master's Keyblade back. Oh, and the Union leaders we all thought died in the Keyblade War, apparently they're still alive! We don't even get to open the black box! It's all nothing but a supposed teaser for Kingdom Hearts 4. The entire long-awaited conclusion to the Xehanort story was nothing but a teaser for Kingdom Hearts 4.